Hello, everybody. Welcome to Operation Vet Now's No Neutral podcast. This is a show all about veterans in motion who are using various sports to build their mental and physical strength post-service. I'm your host, Taylor. Joining me today is a U.S. Army Reserves veteran and snowcross athlete, Devin.
Right.
Uh, so snowcross, for those of you who don't know, is much like motocross except on snowmobiles. Um, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. So U.S. Army Reserves, being in the National Guard, we're kind of similar, except difference when it comes to funding and stuff. Uh, what's it like? Why'd you? I see you switch between two different jobs. You're horizontal engineer and a combat engineer. Which one did you start with?
I started with the combat engineer when I was 17 and a half. So between my junior and senior year, I joined and that's what I picked up with, or started with, I should say.
Oh, yes, I see. I kind of figured you would have started as like, I want to be an engineer, and then they just kind of pushed you to be horizontal, so that way, and then you're like, I want to switch it up. So why did you switch to horizontal engineer, which those of you who don't know means he operates the bulldozer and builds roads and stuff, hence the horizontal part.
So like I said, I started as combat engineer. Really enjoyed it. Liked being able to blow stuff up and everything like that. And then as I was progressing through my military career, on the civilian side, life was getting a little bit hard and was looking for work. And there wasn't a lot of transition between being a combat engineer and being a civilian job. So I ended up trying to switch, or not trying, but I ended up switching so I could get the heavy equipment experience so I could go and put that into the civilian side.
No, I definitely see that translating really well. Everyone needs somebody to, move dirt around or something like that. And the only thing I can think of a combat engineer could do is blow up buildings and stuff. And that's probably a limited number of jobs out there.
Yeah, that's pretty thin. So.
Yeah. So you're getting really close to retirement. You're at close to 18 years. Are you gonna push it past 20 or you
Uh, Maybe we'll see. Everything's in flux right now, so kind of see where the Army's going to go in the next couple of years, the new direction. Um, the last couple of years have been, I wouldn't say tough, but that lots of changes and not what it was when I got in. So, and
uh
you can definitely tell.
yeah, I've been in close to 13 years now in the guard and it's definitely different than when I first started.
Yeah,
Both good and bad with some of the directions that they're going. You've got one deployment to Afghanistan.
yeah, yeah. When I was supposed to go in 2010, right when I first, not right away, but when I was back as a uh, combat engineer, I was supposed to go back in 2010, and then I ended up getting pulled off of that one right away. Uh, they didn't have my high school diploma yet, so they pulled me out and put somebody in my slot right away. So I missed that one, and then switched units and kind of just didn't get anything until the one deployment. So it seems odd to be in for 18 and only have one of them.
It happens with the op tempo with the reserve and guard. Depending on your unit, you might be lucky if you go once every 5 or 6 years, or you're in a high op tempo. Like we have high Mars, so we've got the guys who have rockets on the back of a truck that shoot out super far away. They're going like once every 3 years or something like that because
Right.
there's only like 12 HIMARS battalions in like the whole country.
Yeah.
So a little bit
I mean,
different.
yeah, we've been to Europe probably 4 or 5 times, to Poland and Romania. I've been to Romania twice, been to Poland, been to Germany. So we Resolute Castle, we were part of that, helping there, and then Poland we were helping stand up some new bases. So, but as far as like actual deployments, it was only one.
Yeah. No, I I volunteered to go to Kosovo and I almost was able to go and then I broke my collarbone.
Mm,
So couldn't go. I volunteered for we send people to Cuba every so often. I tried to go there. Um, just that's one of the ones that lots of people like, oh, wait a second, I can still use my phone from home and potentially get stuff in the mail. I want to go. So it's tough to get in on that
yeah,
one. What rank are you?
staff sergeant, E6.
Oh, nice. Okay, so are you probably have you filled in as platoon sergeant yet?
Yeah, so um, I just switched units. At my old unit, was like in and out of acting platoon sergeant for a few years, even back as an E5. We were doing War X's, and I was filling in. Um, and then I got switched units, and they were heavy on the E6s. So now we have like I'm in with like six other ones in one squad. So I just kind of took a step back and let some of the younger guys take it, and just kind of filling out my time at this point.
Yeah, no, I gotcha. I mean, it's always good to have that experience that you can put on paper saying, I've been in charge of so many people, made sure tasks got done, all that fun stuff. Uh, so now, Snowcross, it's getting close to the end of the season. What's your next big event that's coming up?
So we got one more. It's the Duluth National up at Spirit Mountain in Duluth, Minnesota. So that's the last one. I'll be racing Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Oh, so it's like a three race event essentially, where best results add up and all that.
So Thursday is like the best regional riders in the, underlying circuits come together, and it's called the showdown. And then they race the other best guys, and then, you see who wins. Um, I had done a handful of regionals and just happened to squeak in one of the classes. So I was like, I'll race it. And then Friday and Saturday is normal schedules. So each day is a considered a different round. So Friday is its own day and Saturday its own day.
Gotcha. So with it being snow that they're using to build the tracks and stuff, they probably can't do that many changes. Do they have like sections that they like route you to instead for the different days, or is it the same track the whole time?
So they got big groomers. Anybody that's been on a ski hill has seen them, but they're really big groomers with big like 12-foot blades on them, and they can move pretty much all the snow fairly quickly. So if like in the morning they build the track, and by the afternoon it's not working or something doesn't flow right, they can go ahead and completely change the section. And then
Hmm.
depending on how it goes in the snow situation, they can make changes for the next day. So Shakopee, they did that. They one day it was a couple of big rhythms and a big triple, and then the next day it was real tight rhythms with a real tight triple. So they pretty much changed the obstacles in the track, but the track layout pretty much stays the same.
Okay, that kind of makes sense. I figured they could do a little bit more than they can do with dirt for motocross and stuff. Um, you're competing at a professional level, which a lot of people dream of. How did you get into snowcross?
So my family's always ridden snowmobiles from all the way that I can remember. And we were watching the races down at Lake Geneva one year, and I just looked over to my dad and said, you know what, I'm going to do this. I was 26 at the time, and I was like, you know what, I'm only getting older. There's no reason why I can't do this. I raced motocross in the summer, so I said, hey, I'm going to do this. Or that summer, I went to work, saved up, pretty much everything I could, and showed up to the first national, not knowing what to do. But that's where it started. That was about 10 years ago. It's been my ninth season now.
Well, I would probably casually riding a snowmobile around, not really on a track of some sort to be able to going to the professional level shows that you have, not just driving dedication, but actual skill and such. How did snowcross translate to motocross and vice versa?
Um, as far, the natural racing element, lining up against different guys, it's a racecraft. Basic knowledge of how to jump and set up lines and passes, that all helps. But as far as the actual riding, they're similar, but they're quite a bit different, as one could expect. I actually got on my bike for the first time yesterday, and the first laps were a little weird, going right from the sled, rode the sled in the morning, and then got on the bike in the afternoon, and you could tell it was a little weird. Took a lap or two to be like, all right, there's a clutch. So
Well, that, and I'm assuming you don't really, I haven't rode a snowmobile before despite being in Michigan. Just not something that's one of the few action sport things that I haven't done. Um, I'm assuming you don't corner like a dirt bike where you lean into it, stick your leg out and all that.
yeah, there's a lot of getting your weight off the sled, trying to get into the corner, and then depending on how tight it is, or you got it's a lot of throttle control. You got to drag the brake a lot, or use the brake like a clutch almost to keep the skis on the ground. Otherwise, you'll just lift the skis up and you won't go anywhere. So I think it takes a lot more effort to get the snowmobile to turn aggressively than it does to get the bike to turn. There's never, you usually don't have a rut or nothing. I mean, you have a berm, but even that you can, if you're not forcing the sled into the corner, you'll go straight.
Yeah, I gotcha. So probably kind of like a sport ATV, how they turn.
Yeah, yeah, I would say
Okay.
that's a pretty good analogy.
So you've been with OVN for a while now. How how did it all come about? What started it for you and led to everything that you've done for OVN?
So I was pretty much a nobody in the sport of snowcross. Turned 30, entered in the Pro 30 class, and started doing really well there. Ended up leading the points halfway through the season, and then I was able to win the championship that year for the Pro 30 class. And then that later that year, I'd say going into fall, Tony had reached out to me, and he got my name from Steve Sherlings, I believe, saying they wanted to grow the athlete program, or the ambassador athlete side of OVN, and he was looking for guys, and my name had came up, so that's kind of how that came to be. So we reached out and we talked, and they say the rest is history.
Yeah, no, it's what you've done with OVN and all that. The graphics that you've got on your sled are really cool. Um, how did the once you started, working with OVN, how did snowmobile change for you? Do you feel like you started making more impact in the community? Did you start seeing more sponsors, seeing you and all that, or
I think I started standing out more individually, with people going, "Hey, you know what? I They're walking by and they see the name on the sled, and they're like, you know what? I knew that guy, or my dad knew that guy, or oh, you serve," and then it stands out, and then oh yeah, I served, and so it helps make a connection on somebody that might just be walking through the pits. They'll see that, ask, realize, and then so it helps grow that aspect. But it's very cool to meet somebody. We had it in New York. They walked up, met him, talked to him, and then his wife reached out and ended up finding out that, his dad was one of the guys we honored last year, or it was his dad or a relative of somebody we had on the sled last year. So they're going to come out next year now. But just being able to have that connection with the families is absolutely the best. Meeting Gold Starred families and seeing their reaction, and being able to honor their family members and keep, whether it was 5 years ago they passed, or 20 years ago, or even farther, just to be able to keep that alive and honor them, and see the joy that they get is absolutely probably the best part of racing, is having them families come out to the trailer and being able to do that for them.
yeah, no, I can. Gold Star families definitely deserve, some VIP treatment and stuff. And showing them that at a professional level, I can only imagine would be incredibly cool to do with or do for them and such. For those of you who don't know, OVN every year they do a fallen hero tributes, and every it changes who is being honored that year. Not that everyone doesn't deserve to be honored, but sometimes certain groups are given this focus. Last year, I believe it was Vietnam veterans, and this year it is, I completely forgot. Drawing a blank.
I know, I know everybody on my sled that I'm able to honor this year are all guys from like my battalion or my brigade. Some of them are actually units that I filled in with. They were from them units, so they're all Wisconsin or right around me. They're all part of it, so it's very close to home, and that's like I mean, it's always an honor to have these guys on my sled, but to be able to be like, hey, you know what? These are real close to being the brothers, even though they were 10 years earlier than me, to see these names on my sled and then to be able to walk through the units and see you their little memorial in the units is like, hey, you know what? I feel like I'm really carrying, something close to home.
Yeah, you've got the connection and the history
Right.
essentially with them. This year it is uh, Afghan War and veterans from the first one. I just looked it up because for some reason I drew a blank. Um, but yeah, Desert Storm and the war in Afghanistan. Eventually, we're going to get to Desert Shield. Um, so at the end of the year, I'm assuming you're at the professional level. I know with motocross and supercross, they're not using a 2025 bike in 2026 or 2027. Do you replace your snowmobile every year or
So we kind of go through a cycle. So I had a 24, um, used that, and then this past fall I got the new 26. And then this coming season, the 24 will be like a practice sled, and then I'll acquire the new 27. Snowcross is pretty hard on equipment, so they don't last as long as like a bike. I got a motocross bike, and I got 130 hours on it. There's no way I'd ever be able to get that out of a sled. I think I have 35 hours on my 24. So, and it's ready. I mean, not that it's not a good sled, but to race at the professional level, it's it gets worn out.
yeah, no, I can only imagine how because what a sled is like 500 pounds or something like that, probably.
I think somebody just said it's just under. It's like 485 or something around there. But yeah, there's a lot of weight coming down pretty high, depending
Get,
on the tracks.
get that, and I don't know if I've been around them, but I don't know anything about their suspension. But I bet it's not really easy to get it set up so that way it could consistently land in on the ground from a triple or something like that, and not eventually wear out quicker than it's supposed to.
Yeah, you just got a lot of moving mass and a lot of weight there. So, I mean, the suspension's great. We work with Fox Shocks. They do an amazing job. They got some great products out there, but things just wear out. You know, it's the product of the beast with that sport. So, um, it's not that we don't have it set up good, but it just takes a beating. It's a very aggressive sport. Motocross is all about being smooth and finding the smooth lines and flowing where snowcross is. It's about that, but sometimes there just isn't a smooth line. You just gotta hold it wide open and bash into things.
You just got to send it essentially.
Pretty much.
Um, I brought up, changing studs and stuff because as you can see behind me, I've got a piece of a plastic from one of the pros bikes. Um, I brought that up because do you give out like a piece of the plastics with, somebody's name or something like that to the families or anything like that? Have you done that?
Uh, I have given out panels. I'll give it like a panel out to an old off an old sled. We'll give a panel away or a number plate or something. Definitely. Um, so
Yeah, I can just imagine, one of these families, being excited to have something, something new that still honors their family members. Um, um, Sorry, I've got lost in my notes. How do you think your military background has influenced your racing?
um so I think the biggest thing I learned going through training and being a combat engineer, what stuck with me the most is, adapt and overcome. You're never going to have it figured out 100%, 100 of the time. And no matter what plans you have, they're not always going to go the way that you have it planned. So a lot like with, you know, being in situations and whatnot, you can't plan for everything, and that's just like racing. No matter how much you prep and how much you think you're ready, something's going to come up, something's going to break, something's going to happen, and you just got to adapt and you got to roll with the punches and figure it out as it comes. And usually there's not a lot of time. So just like being out in the field, you don't have, all the time to sit there and go, well, we can figure this out. No, a lot of it's thinking quick. I know with like racing in between the pro light rounds, we have like 40 minutes in between round one and round two. And I broke a bolt in the skid last weekend. So we had to pull it out, fix it, get it back in there, and almost miss the next round. But you had a quick think and problem solve and adapt and overcome.
Yeah, that and hopefully getting a little bit of luck to be able to find the broken part pretty quickly. If
Yep.
you can't tell if it's steering related or what, you just know something's not right. Um, so normally, the last couple of years, you know, the snow season isn't quite what it has been, at least where I'm at in Michigan and the UP, it has. Has the weather last couple of years with less snow, excluding this year, affected your season? Do they compress things? Do they go actually change the plans? Next weekend's going to be 50 degrees, so we're changing it to this weekend. Do they ever do any of that?
Yeah, so like the year I won my championship, I think it was 21, 22. They moved Deadwood. We go out and race in Deadwood, and they had to move it back like a month because they didn't have snow. And then this year they didn't have any snow at all in Deadwood. So we ended up running at Shakopee, Minnesota twice, 2 weekends in a row. Um, but I know I mean, they've done some pretty wild things to make sure we have a track. We were in North Dakota. I can't remember the name of the town, but we were there and it looked like sand and dirt, the snow they had brought in out of parking lots and just anywhere they could find it, and it was just brown. But we were racing. And then 2 years ago or 3 years ago now, they had to cancel Lake Geneva down in Wisconsin. And that was the last race of the year, but there just wasn't any snow. We all got down there and they made the decision Thursday afternoon that they had to cancel it because they just couldn't get any snow. But they do a really good job. ISOC, yeah, they do a really good job of trying to get the snow out there and trying to keep us, giving us a good place to race. But sometimes Mother Nature does win the battle, but they try.
Yeah, no, that's good, and I'm sure all the promoters or owners or whoever the location is at is doing everything that they can to be able to put it on.
Yeah. Yep.
Have you ever tried any ice racing? I only bring that up because you have a motocross background and it also takes place in winter.
Yeah. So when I was, I want to say 13, 14, my uncle had, back in like 2004, when Yamaha just came out with the YZ 450F, that race four wheeler. He had one of them, and he let me ice race that, uh, and that was pretty cool. I ran started TT and started over, so that's kind of where I first got into racing. was out on four wheels out on Lake Wisconsin. And that was a pretty good time.
That sounds like it would be fun. I can see that actually, translating pretty good to snowmobiling. What's your season looking like for next year? How do you prepare for a snowcross season?
So next year, looking to run both Pro Light and Pro 30 again. Um, Always looking for more sponsors. Uh, I pretty much do everything myself. Um, so anything that helps is great in that aspect. It's like I'm not running out of a semi, not running, I don't have big team sponsorship. So OVN does a great job of helping me out in the ways they can. But it's probably about $1,500 a weekend to go racing between the entry fees and hotel, and so it adds up pretty quick, not including the parts and the sled cost itself. Um, so we're already starting to start gearing up and looking for sponsors and trying to get the budget out there so we can get planned for that. But as far as like physically getting ready, last year I took like 2 months off, didn't really do any racing in the spring. I think it was like July, it was probably early July, end of June. I started getting back on the bike. Um, was running D16 and I was running three motos at the races. So just to get the laps in to get the endurance. So I did that, and then I hit the gym and try to hit the gym pretty regularly. And then on the civilian side, I do concrete. So that's always a workout in itself.
Yeah, no,
But
definitely.
yeah, it can be a challenge some days. So, but between riding the bike and then going to the gym, it's kind of I try to plan for that so that way I'm ready for when the season starts.
Yeah, because I can imagine that uh, you're like some concrete guys where snow removal is your winter job because there's not a whole lot going on building wise sometimes during the winter months.
Yeah, I help out. I helped another company out this winter doing walls for a big building. So we were pouring walls, which isn't any fun in the winter.
I can only imagine. You can only have so much clothing on because you still need to be able to move and articulate your
Yep.
fingers and stuff, but at the same time, can get pretty cold. Do you have any good stories from uh, just the at the being at the racetrack or from being in charge of people? You ever see something you go, why would you ever do that? Because I've got a couple from my time in the military of people I just go, don't do that again, please.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a few stories I could probably share, but I probably shouldn't. Um, uh, yeah, Afghanistan was fun, but I'll keep those to myself. Um, probably shouldn't let them out, but no, yeah, like I said, there's always good times, but to somebody else, they might just be weird. But um, but as far as I get the races, yeah, I don't really know what's worth sharing, I guess. Everybody, I mean, just go out and race every weekend and that's about that, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
Are the pits kind of like the same when it comes to riding at a motocross track where you park next to somebody and go, sup, I'm so and so, and they say I'm so and so, and boom, you just made a new friend, or is it a little bit different?
um, it is a lot of people know everybody. Um, just because there's usually not too many new people that just jump into snowcross. Usually they start as a kid and keep going up. Or, but no, everybody's pretty friendly. If you need something, you can usually knock on the trailer next to you, or somebody. I usually go to the bigger cat teams and hey, can I borrow this? Or hey, this is what's going on, and they're real nice. Kylo Racing Jacob York's team has always been like doors open. If you need something, we'll help you out. There's a couple other smaller teams that do the same thing, and so that's awesome. You can't but and you also have the teams that kind of look at you and go, yeah, we're busy, you know. So some I'm a cat guy, so sometimes Skidoo teams, but I try to stay away from them. No,
Yeah, they're
no,
like,
yeah, no, all the teams are pretty good. I think if you needed help from pretty much anybody at that level, they'd help you out if they could. Obviously, I can't go to a Skidoo team and ask for parts because I got a cat, but I mean they're all pretty friendly. I've talked to a few of the mechanics down on the line, talked to the other riders. Everybody's pretty friendly. But it all depends on the time and place too. You're not going to go up and talk to these teams when they're getting ready to go out and race. Uh, it's just, they're there for a reason too.
mhm.
So you got to pick, your times to go. But usually everybody's pretty nice and open about everything.
Yeah, no, I can only imagine that you occasionally need some sort of weird specialty tool that you're like, I don't have that. That's an expensive tool, or I never would need that. Why would I need it and have to go borrow it from somebody?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say tools. I mean, sometimes, but as far as parts, I tend to break the parts that nobody else breaks or very few people have seen break. There's been many times I walk in the trailer and go, "Hey, do you have one of these?" And they ask why, and I said, "Well, because I just snapped mine or this broke." And they go, "I've never seen that before." So that's happened more than a few times, I can say.
It sounds like cats should be offering you a job to stress test their machines and figure out how you're breaking these parts that probably shouldn't be breaking.
Yeah, you're not the first person to say that. I've snapped four bolts in my suspension in the back of the sled that hold the skid in, and that's where that goes inside the track, and that's what gives you suspension. But I've snapped four bolts in the last four times I've been out on the sled. I actually snapped one yesterday in practice, so
Oh,
that's why I
geez.
got on the bike. Was sled broke a little early, and it's not good because it usually wrecks a bunch of other stuff. But
Yeah, no, I can see that if the suspension is wonky, then it's not operating as it should, and something else is bearing the brunt of it.
yeah, and usually when it goes, it's not like you're just putting around. You're out there putting laps in, and so usually lots of things get bent. I snapped a shock shaft in New York this year. Lost a bolt, ended up snapping the shock right in half at the shaft, and people said, "Yeah, we've seen it, but not very likely." So,
Yeah. No, it doesn't sound like something that should normally happen. How many states exactly do you race in?
um, so depending on the year, it's 3 to 4. So like Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, up in the UP, so northern Wisconsin. Um, And then we've been in Iowa, we've been in North Dakota, we've been in South Dakota. We go to New York. Um, we've been over to Michigan, the lower side. So we can travel quite a bit. Um, it all depends on the season and the venues, but we travel quite a bit.
Do they try to add some variants to the venues every year, kind of like the pro motocross or supercross out there? They're trying to hit a different venue in each market because they can't always be at the same place at the same time because of the sports season.
Sometimes there are some that are like staple events, like hey, we go here every year and this is on the schedule no matter what. And then there's other events where it seems like okay, we're there for a year or two, and then we'll move somewhere else, and we may or may not come back, but it kind of varies. So I'd say like Shakopee is one of those that every year in the last 9 years I've raised, we've gone to Shakopee. Uh, Deadwood would be another one. We used to go to Duluth every year, and then that used to be the season opener. They pulled that off for a couple of years. Now it's back as the season finale spot. We've been there at the end. Eagle River, we were there 3 times now. And then, like I said, we went to Fargo for a couple of years, and now we haven't been back. Sioux Falls, we've been down there a couple of years, and now we haven't been back. Um, New York, we've been out there a couple times. Uh, and then, like I said, was that Soaring Eagle Casino in Michigan?
Hmm.
Yeah, we used to go there. We haven't been there, and then there was another spot we jumped to in that area. I can't remember the name, but it was kind of over in that area. We went there for a couple years.
I've been to Soaring Eagle for the D14 banquets before. Where exactly did they have you guys? Because I don't know if there's a whole ton of room to be able to build a track and also have the pits unless they take up a lot of their parking lot.
They, if I remember right, they kind of made like an L shape, and they went over the big berm, the big mound. They jump up and over it, and then come back. So that was a few years ago, and I only went there once. That was when I first started. Rained the entire time. That's what I remember the most. Is it just rained.
Yeah, no, I see that being bad race conditions for just about anybody.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. It did that at ERX a few rounds ago. Now it just we actually had like a 45-minute lightning delay, but that wasn't any fun. That was a long night.
yeah, no, I can see that. Uh, how long do you think how many classes are there for snowcross? Is there like a 40 plus or a 35 plus or
No, so there's pro and pro light, and then pro 30, and then there's a pro women's class, and then it's sport and sport light, and then it drops down to like the junior classes. They got transition, for kids, different ages and
Mhm.
brackets and sled sizes. You got 200s and you got the 120s. Um, but as far as being an older gentleman that I am, it's pretty much the two pro classes and pro 30. So
Okay. Yeah, no, I know with motocross there's almost like every 5 years there's an age bracket. I think the oldest I saw was one guy in the 70 or the 75 plus class. And I just went,
legend. That man is a
yeah.
legend.
Like, wow, the fact that you can just throw your leg over and make it around the track, you know, repeatedly
Yeah,
too, just so cool to be able to do that. I can only imagine like how well he's taken care of himself too over the years.
right. Yeah, we got a 60 plus class, I think. And them guys they still go out and get it too. It's some of them guys they're very impressive to watch. So that they're still racing each other hard too. They're not just out there
Mhm.
putting around. They're racing for something.
No, just the masters of their class usually you can tell just how much time they've put in just by watching them. Uh, so this year, I believe it is OVN's mission statement. Let me pull it up just so I make sure I don't do it right. Yeah, or say it right wrong. Prevention before crisis, which takes place in all shapes and forms. Um, which can translate kind of to purpose, finding purpose in the sports that we do and uh, not just that, but our military service as well. What, compared to when you first started snowcross to now and first got into the military to now, how's your purpose kind of changed?
Um, it definitely gives me a drive. Like every day I have something to work forward to try to become better at. So, I don't drink. I don't do anything else. Um, like I said, I try to make healthy decisions. I'm not eating junk food all the time, and uh, so and I know that I have something that I'm striving for, and the last couple of years, life has been been a little harder than I wanted it to be. So having that to go, hey, you know what? You have a purpose. You have something to get after. So get up and keep moving definitely helps. Um, I don't know what I'd do with myself if I didn't have that drive to stay physically active and fit and to be like, hey, we have something we're trying to achieve. So it definitely makes a difference having this.
No, I don't blame you there. It's definitely something that I look forward to, being able to get outside and, be on my dirt bike, whether it's racing or practice, just something that, the whole winter I'm like, is it when's it gonna be spring? Come on, 50-degree days. Let's
Yep.
start. Um, um, do you have any more the Gold Star families that you've worked with? Do you plan on having them out to the races next year?
Oh yeah, yeah. I wish every weekend we could have one or two families out. I think it's a great thing for the families. I think it's a great thing for the sport, and I think it's great that the general public sees that, you know what, you see a name like the soldiers we've lost over the last few weeks. It's not just the soldier, that these things carry on, and it has ripple effects that unless you're a part of it, carry on for years and sometimes carry on for the rest of the life for the family members and friends that have lost these people. So to be able to do that and give the recognition that some families may or may not get is, I feel like, is the least we could do for them, as for the fallen soldiers, at least know that their families are recognized for what they sacrificed.
No, I totally get you on that. I think it would be good if, all the sports were able to, reach out and find, a Gold Star family and honor at least, a couple of them at every event. Of course, could be kind of hard. I don't know if there's like a Gold Star family coordinator for every state or something like that, or for every branch.
Yeah, well, there's enough of them out there, and
Hmm.
definitely not doing, you know, not OBN, but as a whole, as a country, I feel sometimes we get lost and we don't do enough for, veterans and the families of fallen heroes. It,
No, we can. There's always more. I don't think there's enough that could be done for everybody. Uh, Sorry, I'm lost in my notes again. We're kind of bouncing around, but that happens. Um, so you get to, because of traveling around for Snowcross, you get to go visit a bunch of communities and stuff. Um, do you see different impacts that the races just being there, or impacts it like, hey, wait a second, I remember this guy from last year. He's a different green than Monster.
yeah, doing this so long, you do every now and then you'll be like, "Yeah, I remember that guy," or you'll see pictures and um, or they'll reach out and go, "Hey, I watched you last year." Like we were in New York and you're at a family. Hey, we've been watching you for a while now. We think it's great what you're doing. It's great to meet you. And then, and that's super cool. To see the impact that just because um nothing is being brought up to your attention doesn't mean you're not having an impact. My girlfriend, she's at the races with me, and we got Denman racing sweatshirts on or an OVN sweatshirt on, and oh, do Denman? And she goes, yeah. Oh, I've been watching him for a while. I've never met him, but we love that he's representing the troops, and we love that he's here, and so that is awesome to know that it might not be said, but it's making an impact. People are noticing, and it is showing that, what, okay, so we are doing something. Um, because sometimes I'll be at the races, and if I'm busy, it's to the racetrack. back to the trailer, to the racetrack, back to the trailer, and there isn't a lot of fan interaction, or you don't
Hmm.
get a lot of time to go do that. And then you're driving home. It's like, man, I didn't feel like I shared enough, or I didn't get to meet anybody. But knowing that, what, just because I'm not physically talking to anybody or interacting doesn't mean that people aren't seeing me out on the track or don't walk by and see my sled, in staging or see the posts on Facebook. So I definitely think we're making an impact, and I feel good. Like that's a good feeling
Hmm.
to know. I'm not looking for anybody to come up and go, "Hey, you're doing a great job." I'm not looking for any of that recognition, but just to know that we are doing something is great. It makes me, like, yep,
Hmm.
it's definitely worth the 12 hours driving to a track or the late nights or the, you know, whatever the cost is, it's worth it.
Yeah. Speaking of the 12-hour drive, do they spread the events up, one a month to make it a little bit easier on you guys, or one every 2, 3 weeks? How does that work?
So usually it's like you'll have one and then you have like one the next week and then you have a weekend off. So it's two events and then a weekend off. Um, and as far as spreading it out, I don't know. Like this year, I didn't go to Canada. That's a hefty that's a big one to get up to Canada. But so they went to Canada and then they go right to New York, which is which would be a lot. You'd basically
Hmm.
be gone for almost 2 weeks. New York's right around a 10-hour drive. Canada's an 18-hour drive to get there. So there's a lot of traveling that way. And but they don't have us going from like New York to Deadwood, thankfully. So
They try to make it a line, or maybe a curved
yeah,
line in a sense.
yeah. So we'll start in Shakopee, or no, we started in Ironwood, uh, in the UP, and then went to Shakopee, and then we were supposed to go to Deadwood. That wouldn't happen, so we went back to Shakopee. But so from Deadwood, we would have went to Canada, but we would have had like a 2 week break in there, and then it's Canada, New York, and then it's back to ERX, and then it was Eagle River, and now Duluth. So it's a little bit of bouncing around, but I think they try to make it so you're not going from one side of the country to the other, one right after each other.
Yeah, which makes sense. And I'm kind of surprised you guys don't end up in Colorado, but I can see that being too much of a drive. That
Well, I don't think it's the drive because they went out there before. I can't remember the name, but I know they were out west there quite a bit. I think it's the spectators, trying to get that many spectators to a remote location or somewhere, I think is the
hmm
big thing. So
Yeah, that and getting to like one of the towns that has, a ski place, that this might not be something that people who are going skiing are going to want to watch, even though it, from the clips I've seen, looks really cool, and I do want to catch one of the races sometime.
yeah, yeah, well that, and then you got 300 or 400 racers coming in. You got to have hotels and places for everybody to stay and parking, and there's a lot of logistics that go into hosting a race. It's not just, oh, they got snow here, we should go here. Well, you got room for all those extra trucks and trailers in a small
Hmm.
mountain town, or parking, or or if something happens, you got to have somewhat of a hospital or something somewhat close. So
That and restaurants that are capable of keeping up with that much of an influx. No,
yeah,
that makes sense. Um, do you get to sell merch at the during the race weekends at the
uh,
professional level, or?
so yeah, so we have a website that has Denman Racing merch. We just launched it a while ago, still working out some of the things and getting everything figured out. But like we got hats, koozies, sweatshirts, t-shirts. It's all on there. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, everyone needs a koozie.
Yeah,
I
everyone
think I
needs
keep
one.
one in both of my vehicles that I've got, and there's probably one somewhere in my office here. Um, uh, yeah, I think unless you've got anything you want to bring up or questions for me or anything like that.
No, no, that's about it. So
I think we've spun our wheels enough as it is. To listeners, thank you for joining me on this episode of the No Neutral Podcast. Devin, thanks for coming on.
yeah, appreciate you having me. It's always a blast, and it's always an honor to help spread the word and talk to another veteran and do this. So
Yeah, no,
that's been good.
I don't know exactly when this is going to come out, but let me look at the calendar. We've got a, essentially a week left of March, so I'm assuming it'll be the first week of April, something like that. Hopefully before. When's your next event?
The first weekend in April, so it's like
Okay,
the second and third Easter weekend. Um,
Easter
I
weekend.
know
Okay.
yeah, I get done Saturday night up there, and then I gotta drive 5 hours back home to be home for Easter. So that's what I was told.
Yeah, no, I have I'm assuming a little old lady like that in my life who's would tell me the same thing. You're making it to Easter. I don't care.
Yeah, yep.
But
I
thankfully
don't
it's
care
only
if you have
five
to drive all
hours.
night. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but
Yeah. What's the exact URL for if anyone wants to get your merch?
I think it's Denman Racing at URL the .com or URL. I don't know offhand, but I can definitely send the link over, and then we can put it in the comments or throw it up or
Yeah.
whatever. I can definitely get you the link.
And for those of you who can't read because you're watching on your phone or something like that, Denman is spelled Denman, Denman. So hopefully they should hopefully be able to find it. Um, and
If
if they
not,
wanna, oh,
oh
go
yeah,
ahead.
as I say, if not, I'm on Instagram, Denman72 on Instagram or Denman Racing on Facebook. Shoot a message out, and we can get you hooked up. So if you need it real bad, we can get it to you.
Well, Dan, you probably have the link somewhere in your bio.
Yeah, yep. The link will be in the bio. Otherwise, like I said, shoot me a message and I'll get it to you. So
All right,
that's
and for everyone, oh, go ahead. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you
oh,
off.
I was just say I'm not the social media person. That's the other half. She's way better at it than I am. So she'd probably yell at me for this when she sees it. But yeah, so she'll take care of it and
Now I should
get
be
you what
able
you need.
to put the link or put what it is in the description, and also if someone's watching on YouTube, they'll be should be able to see it right. No, the other way, right there. Sorry, backwards and stuff, trying to point to where I'm gonna put the your name on it. For everyone else, if you want to find me, I am Purple Badgerman everywhere. Capital P, capital B, capital M, no spaces. Make sure you check out OVN's website for updates on not just the podcast, but we have a calendar. So if you want to see one of our ambassador athletes compete in whatever sport they're doing, we've got everyone from pickleball, snowcross, skateboarding. Don't think we have anybody in cricket. Probably not going to get anybody in cricket anytime soon. Um, but we cover a vast number of sports and across the country as well. Um, and the whole point of OVN is our current mission statement, at least right now, and what we're trying to do is to keep people get a purpose and keep them from getting to the point of a crisis. And if for some reason you do find yourself in a crisis, reach out to Vet for Warriors. They're a confidential veteran ran help service. You can call, email, or chat with 24/7. No matter what, a veteran will answer the call who's been, trained to help you. And if you don't forget, and if you forget about them, because of the moment, the veteran crisis line is 988 and press 1. Thanks everyone for watching and or listening on whatever platform you're seeing this from. Please, if there's a sport you really want to see, please reach out to us. I believe the next one is going to be a car racer. What kind? There's so many, and I can't remember off the top of my head. But you'll see me more prepared next time with that. Thanks for watching and listening, everyone, and have a good one.